Hey, welcome in everybody. Talk to Terry Wager, and here with my good friend Kevin Peloso. And what are we talking about today?
Betting on yourself.
Yeah, betting on yourself. And we were talking earlier today, and it's like if you bet on yourself, you can't go wrong. And so, what does that even mean, betting on yourself?
Um, well, to me, it means having faith in one's own abilities without having all the outcomes
Yeah,
or without knowing all the outcomes.
yeah. I actually, my last name is Wager, so I've had this whole bet on yourself thing for a long time. Bet on me. And I actually, actually,
Wager consulting.
It was Wager Consulting years ago, and
You
everybody would
worked with
call me out
gambling
on fun.
addicts, right?
What's that?
You worked with gambling addicts,
Yeah,
right?
well, the funny thing is, I have people call me and go, "Hey, what kind of games do you help us?" Um, and then I actually advise them on how to bet. And I always suggested roulette is the best game. Bet on black, or
You
red.
guys didn't know Terry's a card counter as well.
Yeah, and I count cards. And I also know exactly how to roll a die so it lands exactly where I want it. So yeah, that is the easiest part for me, and it came with the name. All of my siblings can do the same thing, so it's very
It's a
cool.
gambling family.
It's a We are the wagers, and that's we run around saying that we are wager. But in all seriousness, I used to say I'm the good vet, but it's because I know my skills and I know what I can do and I know how I can help people. And by the way, let's get this clear, I do not help people on how to bet.
Yeah, no, that's just
Don't
a
do
joke.
the gambling thing.
Maybe.
I don't even spend money on gambling. It just doesn't appeal to me. I don't see why I would want to put money in a barrel and burn it. But other people love it, and I do not have any problem with other people doing it. I just don't gamble my money unless it's a business deal, and then it's usually after I've done a lot of thorough due diligence on the deal before I put my money in. So that's me. Um, I know other people that put money in everything.
Yeah,
Med
me
kits.
too.
Med kits. It's gonna be good. Water bottles. Hey, let's do this. But anyway, so betting on yourself. How can this go wrong? How do people misinterpret what this means?
Well, I think that's interesting. Yeah, well, I think being thoughtful, like you don't want to bet on yourself in a situation where the odds are stacked against you.
Um, like
Sorry,
what?
I'm getting I got I got a funny
So
text.
Kevin is broadcasting from a room where he's got the back wall to him, but on the other side of that, I've been there, and the other side of it is big glass window where people walk by and they sit there, and it's his team, so they make fun of him and things.
Yeah, I was just getting text on my and it appears on my computer. Anyway, what are we talking about? Oh, betting on yourself, how it can go wrong. Yeah, so I mean, you don't want to bet like I mean, there's people that bet on themselves on, situations that have a super low likelihood of having a good outcome for themselves. So you do I think there's a good balance between internal and external kind of locus of control to think about. Um, like for instance, you may be like, I'm gonna bet on myself at the casino.
Kevin's
I'm
using
betting
big
on myself.
psychology words. External locus of control. That's awesome, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, basically it's in yeah, so basically the internal is like you feel like it's what you can control, and then internal is I happen to the world, external is the world happens to me in layman's
Good way to
terms for
put it.
people that
Yeah.
don't understand that. Sorry.
No, no,
But
that's perfect. I like the way you explain that.
it's how it registers in my head.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So you want to bet on yourself in situations that is likely to have a good outcome for you that's actually healthy, rather than, again, like the casino situation. Like, I'm betting on myself. I'm going to keep playing until I win. Well, the odds are heavily stacked against you, so that probably would be an area where you shouldn't bet on yourself. But when it
Absolutely.
comes to your own well-being, then that's a different story.
And I think that I like the way you put that. And I think that when we actually do the work on ourselves and we are really knowing who we are, the bet gets easier to bet on ourselves. But I think a lot of people are plagued with self doubt, and they hesitate and they procrastinate. If you're one of those people that hesitate, procrastinate, um, you may say that you bet on yourself, but there's something going on there that you're actually, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm not such a good bet. And it's that idea of uh, feeling self doubt and not connecting to yourself in a way, and you're more worried about what's going to happen rather than taking a chance and putting everything into it. And I think that so many people struggle with that, and then they go external and they're going to go buy another piece of equipment, they're going to buy another piece of software, they're going to go try another program or whatever they do, but they're not believing that they're going to be able to do the activities that they need to do to make something work, so they just keep getting more tools, so to speak.
Well, I think too, you need evidence. You can lie to other people, but it's really difficult to lie to oneself. And I think this is kind of taking a page out of Jordan Peterson's book a little bit, but I like the idea he kind of describes as, creating a situation where you have a higher likelihood of winning, so to speak. So, like, yeah, maybe, for example, let's talk like business. Okay, maybe you can't build $1 million business today, but maybe you can build $1,000 business. At least you build your own confidence, which, to Terry's point, increases the odds that you bet on yourself more and more. You put more evidence in your corner, like, okay, maybe I'm not a level 10 disciplined person, but I'm a level 2. How can I get to a level 3 and then a level 4, and
Right.
so
You,
on.
you know that's really good. And in fact, I know a few people in the martial arts worlds, and none of them have ever started out at black belt. I haven't seen it yet. They, but maybe it's happened. Maybe somebody has.
That's
But
a
most
Fugazi
everybody
school.
that I've seen had to actually go through all of the belts and learn how to stretch and learn how to do all of the punching and kicking before they got to black belt. And so they started small. And that's what you're talking about with what Jordan Pierce is. It's one of the things that we talk about, me and Christine, is we don't want you to go and make $1 million. We want you to go and make a sale. We don't want you to go and create this huge business. We want you to create one sellable concept that you can do. And then even when we're working with somebody with a marketing message or something, it's like, we don't want you to go and use that for everything. We want you to go and try it out with a small number of people and see what they say it means, so that you can refine it. And so the idea of starting small and achievable is something really good. But the other thing I think about a lot is that when people are having trouble betting on themselves, they're allowing that procrastination and that fear of failure get in the way. And like you said in the beginning, it's a lack of faith. But it's not just a lack of faith in ourselves, it's a lack of faith that things are going to be okay. And when I was doing my clinical psychology work, and otherwise known as therapy, with people, when they'd first come in to work with me, the first thing I would do is sit them down and I go, okay, first we need to get something straight. You're okay, you just don't know it. And over working with me over the next few weeks, months, however long we work together, I'm going to show you how okay you are and how you are okay and how you just didn't know it. And so if you choose to embark on this, you're going to have to look at yourself, and then everybody leave and they not come back. No, I'm just kidding. Those people who really got that, they had that thing about them, and we were talking about this as like Kevin has this thing about him that you just know that he can do that what he says he's going to do. And we all procrastinate, we all hesitate, but when it becomes something that's a block for you, that's where it's a problem. And these people would come in and they'd, oh, I got all these. You're okay, you just don't know it. Oh, well, say more about that. And it's because our fear of failure and our fear of what's going on outside of us, we've actually adopted instead of allowed ourselves to go, wait a minute, if all of those other people out there are winning and having success and everything, I can have success too. I just forgot to believe in myself. I think that's a big issue for people is they forget to believe in themselves and they start doubting themselves and they start fearing failure because that's what they're paying attention to.
Well, I also think a piece of that, I think on another side of the coin of that is sometimes people, again to the evidence thing, is like they think they can, when they talk about these big ideas and kind of skipping, the belt analogy, like skipping from a white belt to a brown belt, they think they're going to do that so quickly, and it's like, well, they're not really thinking logistically how it's going to work, and then they get depressed when they're not there.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're, in terms of building a business, like if you don't know how to get on the phone with somebody, if you can't be consistent, say making cold calls, say that's kind of your business you want to do, like how are you going to build a giant real estate business if you can't even get on the phone with somebody? So I think there's a reality check in there, and people think there's something wrong with them, but it's like, no, there's not something wrong with you why you don't think you can do this. It's probably because you can't at this moment in time, but you can if you break it down into micro steps. Like you got to earn your way to that confidence. And I think people don't think about, you got to earn your confidence. That's been my experience. Because if you're not, then it's just being cocky.
So what you're saying is I actually had to go to school to get my doctorate. I couldn't just go in and receive it. I couldn't pay for it and have it.
Right.
And I love that. I love the way you put that because it reminds me of back when my first day of grad school. We walked in and sat down and we're all like nervous and wondering who's going to get kicked out first. And I mean, well, at least I was wondering that. I thought it was me. But we're all sitting there and my professor, his name was Joe, Professor Joe, gave us an assignment with a vignette of a person that was having some kind of life problems and said, okay, now go ahead and do a psychological evaluation on this person and diagnose and then prescribe your treatment for them. This is the first day. The very first day, I had no idea. I just walked in. We haven't had any classes. This is the first class, first day. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And everybody else was like, I don't know how to do that. You could see everybody going, what the? And he just allowed that to be for a minute and let everybody get really, really uncomfortable. And then because nobody was doing anything, nobody knew what to do, I did the thing I do and go, maybe it's just me, but I don't know how to do what you're talking about. And he goes, I know. None of you do. So do the best you can and see what happens, because by the end of this class, you'll know exactly how to do it. But you gotta try something before we teach you how to do it. and it was one of the best lessons I ever got at school. And amazing teacher. And what it taught me more than anything in that moment is anything that you've never done before, you don't know how to do. But if you take a shot, you're probably going to miss the boat completely. But at least you took the shot. You tried. And you know, in the personal development world, I'm going to go off for a minute here. The personal development world talks about, oh, don't ever say try, and don't say but, and don't use these words. The fact of the matter is, I love those words because one, it gives me an idea of where people are at when they're saying I'm trying and nothing's happening, or I want to try. Okay, good. They have a desire. Or I tried this, but okay, but what? We start to get an understanding of what's going on inside them when they use it. But the reality is when we're using try and but and all of these different words that have been designated as the words you shouldn't use if you're trying to be a developed person, well, how the hell are we supposed to develop if we can't use those words and we can't talk about what our internal experience is? And it's funny because we become positive people. We can't just be positive people. But it starts from fear. And it starts from, I don't know what I'm doing. And it starts from, I'm not sure how to move forward with this. And it becomes, I'm a sure bet. Why? Because I dove into that scary stuff and I didn't know if I could do it. I feared failure. I lacked the skills and the abilities, but I took a chance. One, from knowing that things are okay already, it just doesn't feel like it. And two, because, well, I learned other things like how to walk, and I learned how to talk, and I learned how to, well, most of the time I learned how to talk. And I learned how to do all of these different things, and I learned how to learn. And as a result, because I did that, I can learn other things. And I think that people forget that.
Yeah, 100%. And then they'll get depressed as to why they're not a black belt overnight. It's it's cliche, but it's true. It's like you really have to fall in love with the process versus the journey versus the destination.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, there's different things that I still struggle with, and you know, software. It's coming out so fast, nobody can keep track of how to do anything, and um, Slack is a thing that is like a beast in itself, and learning that, and then I'm adopting it for one of my other businesses, and looking at how to use it. It's like, oh my god, I don't know how to do this. Video editing and stuff, some stuff like I don't know where, you know, and I could have a video editor do some of our video editing, but um, part of it is also knowing exactly what I want to be said in the videos. And so it's like, okay, so I need to do some of this stuff. And it's like, then, okay, how do I use it? How do I do this? I don't know how to do this. This is stupid, and throw it away. Well, it's not stupid. I am. Um, I'm ignorant and I don't know how to use it. And so what I'm feeling is not that stupid, but I'm blaming the material, or I'm blaming the stuff, instead of owning the fact that I'm feeling inferior and I'm feeling stupid and I'm feeling powerless around this because I haven't actually put my time in to learn it. And I think that our world has really got that almost contracted the disease of right now. I need to have it right now. So nobody's willing to learn. Nobody's willing to take the time. They all want to have, you know, hey, I want to have your 4 years of business knowledge next week. And it's like, well, okay, that's going to be a lot of money. Well, no, I don't want to pay for it either. I want it free. I'm going to go to YouTube and learn a business in a week. And it's like, we can learn a lot of good stuff from all the information out there. But the fact is it takes action, and it also takes connection with others, and being able to have somebody guide you and work with, to be able to go, am I on the right track or not? I tried this and it didn't work. I tried this and it worked. I tried this, and what else should I do? And being able to really, while being self-supporting, be checking in with other people to learn how to do what you're doing. And I mean, for me especially, like I got a doctorate in psychology. I didn't do that alone. I didn't do that by reading the books. I read all the books. I read everything. I went to the classes. I did all of the work. But the major thing that got me through was the professors that, one, gave the questions, two, brought information out of me, helped me to see things in a different way, and challenged my ideas. And I think the biggest part that helped me to become the psychologist that I am is the challenging the ideas I thought were right. Now, I mean, most of them were, but that's another story. It's a joke.
Kind of.
Kind of. Thank you. I appreciate that. But you know, and so the fact, I think that if people can really zone in on working on growing in themselves and really taking ownership, that if they want to be somewhere, they have to put the work in. They have to put the hours in. And there's some kind of video I saw a while ago that says it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in something.
Master. Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, so why does everybody want to take 2 or 3 hours? I mean, it'd be great. 2 or 3 hours and I become as good a guitarist as Eric Clapton. That'd be great. But that doesn't happen. And could you imagine the calluses on your hands if you did that?
You'd have no fingers.
Like, oh my God, I got no fingers. It takes ownership of the journey, like you said, and it takes the ability to step into the growth opportunity. And I am so excited when I run into people who want that growth opportunity and who want to step into learning how to be really great at something. And it's I think that I get more joy out of watching people in that fear of not sure how to do it, or in that I've blown up my life and I don't know what to do and everything's screwed kind of thing. Watching them take the journey back from self-doubt and fear of failure and just not knowing what to do into now I'm achieving. And it could be small achievements, or it could be, you know, like I was talking about my friend who runs a bunch of restaurants in the Denver area now for Elon Musk's brother. You know, that guy lived in a tent and kind of lost it all and rebuilt his life, but he had to bet on himself first. And then bet on me. I can help him. That's a good bet, though. And so, who are you betting on yourself is a question I have. And how do you get there when you have all that self-doubt? So, I've spoke a lot. How do you get there, Kevin?
Well, I think there's it takes a level of being thoughtful, but not thoughtful at the same time.
Okay, how do you do that? That's confusing. I like it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, you want to put yourself in a situation where if you can achieve this level of work, the outcome's going to be good for you if you can get through the work. And then you also need to be, you know, you don't want to be so thoughtful. It's like you need to be thoughtful in the macro, not so thoughtful in the micro. You almost need to be like, for instance, you know, like Hormozy says it, but he's like, volume solves a lot of problems. And he says that for business, but it kind of goes with everything, right? The more,
Absolutely.
like, you hear these adages, practice makes perfect, etc. You know, Bruce Lee talks about he doesn't fear the man that knows 1,000 different moves. He fears the man that's practiced the same move 1,000 times. Like there's some wisdom behind that, but you have to be willing to put the work in, even if you don't have a sure result. So that's kind of what I mean by not being too thoughtful, because you don't know exactly when you're going to see results. You just have to have the faith that the results will come if you continue doing the right activities. If you're mining that meme that's always passed around, the guy mining, this long tunnel, and he's like 3 swings away from getting diamonds, but he quits right before it.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people fall into that, and you have to just be like, it's going to show up. It's going to show up. I'm going to get there. You just have to keep pushing. And that goes with betting on yourself, to have that confidence to
absolutely.
keep moving forward, even if you don't know when the result's going to show. And, to your point that there may be, sometimes there are shortcuts, right? Sometimes there are ways to advance quicker than you realize in the beginning, but you're not going to be ready or open for those opportunities if you're not taking the action in the micro. There are shortcuts. There are ways to learn faster, to get things done. So you got to be aggressively patient. I love that term, aggressively patient, because I think it's really true. Aggressive, you want to be aggressive in the short term, just making moves, even if you don't know exactly when the outcome's going to come. But in the macro, odds are the outcome will show up. If you play guitar for 10,000 hours, you're probably going to be good at guitar. It's going to be really hard not to be good if you practice for 10,000 hours, but you have to practice for 10,000 hours.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's one of the things I think about with my work. And I am going to say that there are some people that should not be helping people. They just, I don't know what it is, but I've ran into a lot of people who are not really super good at the helping people world, in the way that a psychologist or a therapist would do it. Either they bring their baggage in or whatever, but there's people who really get the inner workings, and those people have really worked with people for a long time and understand the underpinnings that get people moving, as well as keep people from doing stupid stuff. And I would say that's one of my talents, is to help people from doing stupid stuff, keep them from doing that stupid stuff. It's not a tangible thing I can sell, but let me tell you, you're going to do a lot less stupid stuff if you work with me. It's weird, and I think it's honestly because in my former life, before I became a psychologist, before I did all my self work, I did a lot of stupid stuff, so I could see it coming. But I think I think what you're talking about is really key, with the idea of being able to think but not overthink. And so,
Yes,
really
that's a better way to
have
put it.
a strategy, a plan of action, but don't try to guess the outcome, and don't try to play chess with the outcomes or anything like that. Just take the actions and see what happens. And it's a continuous action of, okay, these are the couple of moves I could make a move, see what happens, make a move, see what happens, make a move, see what happens. Because when we make the move, we can adjust. But if we don't make the move, there's nothing to adjust except our mind again. And then we turn into adjusting the mind of what might happen. And I've never been able to actually, myself, and if there's anybody out there that knows how to do this, I'd love to find out. But I've never been able to actually guess or imagine what's going to happen and then change the outcome based on thinking it before I ever take action. I just haven't been able to do that. I know that probably it's a failure of mine, but I think that it's really, I've always had to take the action to find out the result.
Well, and I think too, and we talked about this specifically earlier, betting on yourself opens you up to bet on others to help you. right? Having a
Absolutely.
coach, like I've worked with you and you've helped me, not do stupid shit, and help me do the right stuff, which has accelerated my career. Like just myself as an example, like when I met Terry, I had been doing, I was accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish, but I wasn't doing it fast enough. And getting involved with, I started networking, getting involved with Terry. I didn't know where any of this was going to end up. I had no idea, but I just knew I was willing to do whatever it took. And having people like Terry or other mentors in your corner that have, they have the experience down the line that can help you from making the common mistakes that you would if you were doing it by yourself. So by no means for instance, if you're using a pickaxe to find diamonds, well, maybe after a while you might get your hands on an excavator, but you're not going to be able to get the excavator until you're proficient with the pickaxe. So it's just different ways of like doors open up as you go down the path. So you don't want to be too, like to Terry's point, you don't want to be too attached to the specific outcome. But you do want to make sure that you're taking action in the best direction that and as you get more counsel, as you gain more mentorship, those folks will be able to help push you even farther down that path or help you pivot if you need to. There might be a better way to do what you're trying to do. So, but it all starts with committing. It's really like committing to yourself is probably a better way to think about it.
Yeah, that's great, and that's when I'm thinking about this. The first thing that we need is commitment. We need commitment to ourselves, and unfortunately, some people are much more committed to their ego, and so they, as we talked about before, they get arrogant and they're like, I'm the only one that's going to be able to do this, and they're only focused on themselves, and they don't think about other people, and they take off recklessly, and it doesn't work, and then there's that cycle of just being opportunistically taking on their own. And that's not what we're talking about. And that never really works. And pretty soon that person burns out. But what we're really talking about when we're talking about betting on yourself, and you can never go wrong when you bet on yourself by committing to yourself that you're going to take action and you're going to move forward with whatever you decide to do. And you support yourself by getting support from outside of yourself and take the action that you're supposed to do. And for me, one of the biggest things is really identify how your emotions are involved in that and where your self-doubt is coming from, where the fear is coming from, confront it, talk about it, let it go. And my phone's ringing now. And then really use all of that as a growth opportunity to learn about yourself, learn about what you're doing, and see what happens, because you're already okay. And I'm not talking about like if you're in a car accident and shit, stay there and wait. I mean, I'm talking about, I'm talking about the idea of living life, whether it's in a relationship or in business interaction or whatever it is, take the action. We're personally, me and Christine are in a business deal right now where we have to, put ourselves under the microscope of people for money. And it's excruciating. I don't want to show people my taxes. I don't want to show people this because my head says I haven't made enough, and my head says they're going to be jealous of what I have made. And, all the way, I'm afraid to be vulnerable sometimes. And so I got to actually step into vulnerability and go, okay, here, examine. Tell me what I got to do. Tell me how I can do whatever I need to do to take the next steps forward. Because the reality is I don't have those answers. The financial people do. The other people do that have the deciding factor of whether we can move forward with what we want to do or not. And so what we have to do is we have to actually turn ourselves over to other people and allow them to guide us in those things, instead of being a little fortified structure, hoping that you can get to a place where, ta-da, I've made it. We can't make it on our own. but we can't make it if we don't bet on ourselves and take chances. So if you bet on yourself, you can't go wrong. But I think the word that, and Kevin, maybe you'll agree, I don't know, but humility is huge in betting on yourself.
Absolutely.
We-
I think that's the biggest hurdle people have to kind of get over, is that not, looking stupid. It's gonna happen. And
Right.
as you continue on, it's the likelihood of it happening grows.
and allowing ourselves to be the student, and allowing ourselves to be the one that doesn't know all the answers, and allowing ourselves to I don't know, but I want to know. And I love that. What you just said is like allowing yourself to look stupid is like, we have to allow ourselves to put our hand up and go, I don't know. I don't know. And I know my whole journey started of change and growth started when I walked into a 12-step meeting in 1995 and I put my hand up and said, I don't know how to live my life. I don't know how to have relationships. I don't know how to keep jobs very well. I mean, I could do the work, but I couldn't really have the relationship to do the work. Piss everybody off or let them down or whatever, because I didn't know how to show up for me. I didn't at that time know how to bet on myself. And so when we do that, we end up cheating everybody around us, including ourselves. And so when we can go, wait a minute, I don't know something and I want to learn, and turn ourselves into that entity or thing to let us learn. Most of the time it's life. If we just turn ourselves over to life to learn, we're going to actually get somewhere further than where we are when we're like, okay, I can't let anybody know I don't know. And I think that that's really the biggest piece when we're talking about betting on yourself, is like, be humble, put yourself out there, and allow yourself to learn. Then amazing things will happen for you. So I think that's it.
Yeah, that's what I got.
All right. We will see you next week. Adios, everybody.
Adios.